Okay, I'm going to apologize first. I don't have pink eye. I scratched my eyelid. It's a little infected. It's all fine. It's not contagious. So you can talk to me afterwards if you like. Anyway, thank you. I'm Brinker candidate for CD2 here in Nebraska. Let me tell you a little bit about why I got in the race and how I got in the race. When Don Bacon started making some noise that he wasn't going to run again, I put my team together and I said, okay, look, what would it take for us to be a candidate in this race if Bacon decided he's not going to run again? And so we put our team together. We included our consultants, fundraisers, media, polling people, the whole team, because we wanted to make sure that people knew if we were given this opportunity that we would be the most organized and the hardest working group out there. And so that's exactly what happened. Don decided not to run, and we got in the race the day after he announced that he wasn't going to run. And ever since that day, I'll introduce my wife here in a minute, but ever since that day, my wife and I, we say we're running a marathon, but we're sprinting every single day. We are working very hard at this. So I just mentioned, so my most important teammate, though, I talked about the consultants and everyone else, but my most important teammate is my wife, Rebecca. And she's here tonight, if you wouldn't mind saying So on day one as well, it was important, and I was humbled truly that we were endorsed by a number of people who meant a lot to me. We had a sitting U.S. Senator endorsed, that was Senator Fisher. We had who I call the warrior of our unicameral, Senator Kathleen Cow, endorsed us. We had former Governor Heineman endorse us. I worked for Hal Dog when Hal was mayor way back when. Hal better have endorsed me. I hope I was that good of an employee for him. But and then John Zog too on day one came out and endorsed us. And we really appreciate that because it's important, I think, to get that good mix across federal, state, local officials who believe in you enough to come out on day one and endorse you. So I want to give a little bit of a picture of how hard we are working. So, for example, last Sunday, this was Rebecca's Sunday with me. We went out early in the morning. I'm still a sitting council member for the city of Omaha. We have an encampment issue in the city of Omaha that we've been trying to battle. So I went out with the sheriff and we went to a number of encampments and checked some of those things out because we had a vote actually today at Omaha City Council on that. After that, we went to Washington County to support Senator Ricketts at his stake ride. Then when we got back to Omaha, we went to Gretna actually and did door-to-door with Mayor Evans, who also endorsed us on day one. And then had a meeting with the Consul General from Israel. Did a media hit on our fundraising, which I'll talk about a little later. And then we settled down and grilled out a little Nebraska beef to sit back and enjoy it. I might have had a bush light or two, but I won't say how many. So let me tell you why I'm running though, because I think that's really what's important. America turns 250 years old next year. And we've had a great run, but I'm worried about our next 250 years, and that's what I'm concerned about. I've got two daughters. One just graduated from college last spring, and the other is a sophomore in college currently. And I look at America and I think, what are the things that we're doing right? What are the things that we could do better? And that's what I'm in this race for. It's because of their future. It's because of what we need to do to set up the future for our kids, not only in Nebraska, but really in our country. So I'm really optimistic about what we're doing. But what we need to do too is that we got to quit doing things like last year we spent more on the interest on our debt than we did on the military. That's unacceptable. We did things like, and then you look at the crime across the cities. You look at D.C. Well, now D.C. thanks to President Trump, D.C. is in a much better place. But you look at Chicago, and you look at Portland, and you see those crime-ridden cities and what that's doing to the cities and what that does to those kids' futures in those cities. But you look at our communities, we have low crime rates because we back the blue. And we work hard on making sure that we have good economic development, and we're setting up those economies for our kids to prosper in. So one of the taglines I have in my opening video, that if you want to see it, it's at brinkerharding.com for that shameless plug. I talk about, do we want America to look like New York or California, or do we want it to look more like our heartland? And that's really what I want to be doing. I want a quick side story on when I mentioned New York, and it's kind of in my video too. There's a flash of a headline from the New York Times, and it talks about Mondani. And I got a call from the New York Times. This is how important this race is, by the way, too. It is nationally important, and I'll say this as a quick side note. If we lose the House, you know what happens? We get 2 years of Trump. We don't get 4 years of his agenda. We also get chaos ensuing with impeachment trials that you know are coming right away. So we've got to stop doing that. But then I get a call from the New York Times asking me why I'm talking about New York in CD2 Nebraska. And it's for that exact reason, because we don't want to be like New York or California or Portland or Seattle. So I want to make sure the next 250 years of America are our new golden age. And that's why I want to go to DC. So there's some palm cards in the back. I think Nick, if you handed those out earlier, or if anyone would like to grab one. So it's pretty simple. I've got 4 pillars that I'd like to talk about for the campaign. The first one is restoring America. We've got to do what hasn't been done in a long time, and that's, thank God President Trump is in charge, because he proved that Biden was wrong in so many ways, but the one that I think is the best is, remember Biden always used to tell us that in order to secure the border, we got new laws, we have to have new laws, we got to change what we're doing with the new laws. Trump comes in, day one, border crossings go down immediately. I guess we didn't need new laws to do that. We just needed a new president to do that. We want to make sure that we continue to find and deport those illegal aliens, especially those who are committing heinous crimes in our communities. And we need to make sure that we're rebuilding our military. As I said a few minutes before, we spent more on our national debt, interest on our national debt, than we did on the military. That's got to stop. The next one is growing America. And I think the big beautiful bill that was passed, the most important thing, at least to me, and Nebraskans, I think, was that we made permanent those tax cuts from 2017. And that was really about a $24,000 benefit to every family in Nebraska. That's why that was important as well, too. But we need to reshore all those industries that had left the country and make sure that we're growing those supply chains domestically so that we don't have to rely on the international markets dictating to us what we're doing with our products, or the inputs that we need, the rare earth materials that we need. I mean, we just had the chip announcement that we're going to be NVIDIA doing more chips in the United States, which I think is obviously a great thing. And to finish off that one, we need to back the blue. I just said that a few minutes ago. We see the crime and what it's doing in other cities. We see it in Omaha. We're becoming a very purple area. And we want to make sure that we're sending the message that we back the blue and we're not defunding our police. And that's exactly what I've been doing when I've been working at Omaha City Council. The next one is renewing America. And actually, did I skip securing America? I did skip securing America, didn't I? Oh, yeah. No, I did that. I did that, yeah. I'm having my Rick Perry moment there. Anyway, so then renewing America. So here, this is a really scary statistic, I think. 72% of parents in America that were polled think that their kids are not going to have it any better than them when they grow up. That's un-American. What happened to the American dream? What happened to the idea that if you work hard, if you treat your neighbor right, if you raise your kids right, and you could have a good paying job, and you could have a home. 72% of American parents think that that's not attainable for their kids. That's why I'm in this race. That's what's really important to me. And that's why we need to win this race. It's that important for this district. It's that important for this district, that important for this state. And it's that important for our nation. So I'll close a little bit by giving you a quick campaign update. One is we just finished out the last quarter of fundraising, and I must say we were tremendously successful. I was greatly humbled by all those that gave their money to our campaign. They know we're going to use it efficiently and effectively, but we raised over $550,000 in the first quarter, which is a record for a first-time candidate for their first quarter of fundraising. And a couple of issues on that too. So it was about double what my opponent in the primary raised, but it also got the attention of the Democrats that are in the race too. And one of the things we like to do on our campaign, I don't know if you've seen, we do social media a lot. One of the things that we do is they call them look-ins. Are you familiar with those? It's kind of like a video. We'll kind of run with something that's happening around the country, and you're looking down, and when the video's done, you comment on it. Well, I did one with the sombreros. I think John saw it. I know John saw it because he sent it to me. Does everyone remember the sombreros? Okay. So I did one with the sombreros where I'm looking down at the video, and it gets done. It's talking about the Democrats and how hypocritical they are, and I get done looking at it, and I look up at the camera with my comments. I actually had a sombrero sitting next to me. And I just took the sombrero and I said, you know what, that's right. You know what, cut it out, Democrats. Get back to work and the sombreros go away. And yesterday I referenced the media hit I did. What it was one of the Democrats in this race thought it was offensive. And they thought it was racist. And every other ism that you can throw at someone. And I took it as a compliment, actually, that I think she's identified me, at least in her book, as a front runner in this race. I happen to agree. But I think it's funny that, the media and the Democrats, which is kind of saying the same thing, right? That they're one and the same. But they're the ones who are making sure, we know that they're going to be attacking us as well, too. But we're going to be well prepared to address those issues. We're going to be well prepared to talk about the issues too. The differences between me and candidates, and at least that are in the race so far. There may be others getting in, but I support voter ID. I haven't raised the gas tax 23%. I didn't. One of the other things, especially now with the unfortunate assassination of Charlie Kirk, the death penalty has been something that more people have been talking about lately as well too. I'm supportive of the death penalty, always have been. My opponent, quite frankly, we're talking about this race and wanting to win because it's that important. My opponent, when he was in the unicameral, voted against the death penalty. He voted to override then Governor Ricketts' veto of the death penalty. I think it's interesting that now that with the assassination of Charlie Kirk and the importance of that conversation. Is another differentiation between the two of us. The other one that I think is interesting too is, and we see the results of that in the national news, is giving illegal aliens driver's licenses and CDLs. And you see these people who've been, in Florida, the unfortunate death of a family that would, because the CDL, he got a CDL and he couldn't even read English. And he was making a U-turn and killed a family, a young family, including, like as young as Allie's daughter there too, which is incredibly unfortunate. And the other thing that I find a little interesting too is my opponent held a fundraiser for Tony Vargas, the Democrat, who fought against this district, made incredible amounts of money come into this district to fight the Republican candidate. I don't think that that's going to be an issue with me. So I want to close with just a couple other things. I wanted to reiterate that we're going to be the hardest working team, we're going to be the most organized team, and we're going to win in May, and we're going to win in November. And John, if I had any time, I'd be happy to take some questions.
Okay, my thought is there's questions. The person asking the question can speak into the mic. So or I can repeat the question. So
Or I can repeat it too if you want.
Okay, or if you make sure you
Yeah.
So any questions? Yeah.
So nice to have you here, Brinker.
Thank you.
My name is Dennis Fleon. I'm from Craig. My question is, and I want to preface my comments by saying I support my president. I voted for him, and I voted for him with open eyes. The big thing is, I'm a farmer, and farming has had it tough with the tariffs. The tariffs have completely cut off our exports to China. This time last year, China had bought I don't know how many million metric tons of soybeans. This year they have bought 0. What can you do, or how can you help our president make a deal with China? We need that market back. We don't have to agree with the people that are our customers, but what we need is their money. And we're sending money all the time over to China, but we're not getting money back from China. So we need a deal. We had a president previously that didn't give a damn about trade. This president, I knew he was going to do these tariffs, and he said he would, and he's doing it. And I still support it, but we just need a deal made now.
Did everyone hear the question? Okay, so it's a great question and very topical. And what's really important, you're right. I don't think China hasn't bought a bean from us since May. And I think when the president came out, and we all knew that he was talking about tariffs during the campaign, and I think we were all supportive of that, and patient to let him work with the countries to make sure that we were getting those trade deals done. And I think that even in Nebraska, especially our farmers, both for row crops as well as the beef and our ranchers, I think everyone was willing to give them some time to do that. I think we're getting to a point where a lot of that patience is starting to wear out. I think I kind of heard that in your voice and in your question. And what's really interesting is that you're right, we have to get a trade deal done. And here's the thing, because you don't want to just get your wheat in the form of a check, do you? You want to be able to, well, you do want that.
Absolutely right.
But yeah.
We want our check from the marketplace.
Right.
We don't want it from the government.
That's going to be my point. You want to get your product out, and you want to have markets to sell that to. And here's an interesting thing that I don't think a lot of people talk about, is that, okay, so we're not selling to China right now, or China's not buying from us right now. But you know what? They still have that demand, and they're finding that product somewhere else. And you know how hard it is when you lose a customer? How hard is it to get that customer back? And that's what not a lot of people are talking about. And that's why we need to make sure that we get something done here pretty quickly. So I agree with you. Great question.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
You did open 3 other countries that had banned our soybeans and our crops, and they are now buying them. There's at least 3 other countries. I think it's like 4.
Okay, we're gonna.
Yeah. I have, what do you say about H1B, H4, OBT, B2? All these visas have been opened up, including my neighbor who's an engineer and works for Kiewit. And they have finally, what he told me, they have finally shut it off. I spent 26 years with a programmer, 41 years old, I went back to school. In 98 I started. In 2002 we had the first one at 72nd and Pacific, where there was a 2 or 3 guys that had to train their replacements before they even did their steps. I was laid off 3 times. One time, 6 of us were gone. I was on contract, 6 of us were gone, replaced by 20. And our managers and the managers wanted us all dead. They hired 20 over me. I started in my last one 11 years. The 3rd weekend, I had to teach 2 guys how to run a job. After 11 years, my last week there, I'm teaching, showing the same 2 guys how to run a job.
Obviously, that's not right. I mean, we need to make sure that we're giving our kids, our families, the opportunities here, making sure we're doing the right thing with education. I mean, look, if we need to have an immigration policy that works, but it's one that doesn't take away from the opportunities for Americans.
Every one of my classmates, from 3 or 4 classes around us, all got forced out.
Yeah.
There's 2 of us that survived this time.
That's not right, obviously. Can I tail off of the last part of what you said? I wanted to go back because one of the things, to your point, one of the things that we are trying to do, or that the Trump administration is trying to do, is find other opportunities for other markets. So, but again, I still go back to the point of, look, China's our biggest, customer, and if we're losing that customer and they're finding opportunities from Brazil or Argentina, then it's going to be harder for us to get that back. And that's why it's so important to make sure we find those other markets for our products.
I thought I saw one of you guys.
I got a question. You're an Omaha City Councilman now.
Yes.
There's 5 people on the Omaha City Council, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
5 people?
7.
7.
Yeah.
So 7 people are arguing about what's right for Omaha, okay? I like all your talking points, but none of these things are happening in Omaha.
What are you talking about?
They're not cutting wasteful spending. You guys are putting in a incredibly wasteful streetcar that's shutting down businesses in the Blackstone area. You're not supporting your police. You're over 100 officers short. You got a mayor that's doing press conferences, calling them out. The police chief's trying to defend them. That doesn't really seem to me like back in the blue. I mean, explain to me how these things are happening in the position you're currently in,
Okay.
and why we should believe that you're going to go to Washington and do these things when there's 535 people in Congress that'll all argue a different position, and we can't get anything done with 7 people.
Okay, so I want to make sure it's got to get all. So it was back to blue, streetcar.
Are grocery prices going down in Omaha and I'm not seeing it? Are
I
you,
think we're
is
in the same
America?
position in Omaha that you are here in Saunders County as well.
I guarantee you the crime rate here is a lot lower.
What's that?
The crime rate here, I guarantee you, is a lot lower. You can't convince me crime rates are going down in Omaha.
40-year historic lows in crime. And to answer your question about backing the blue, we actually, to back the blue, we passed an ordinance that said an Omaha police officer will be the highest paid police officer, highest in the state of Nebraska, regardless of what any other organization, safety or police organization is at. So if state patrol raises theirs above Omaha immediately goes to 5% above what the state's paying.
Well, that's a great
So
deal.
that's how we back the blue. And you know what? Look, the nation has had a huge problem because of George Floyd. And you look at other cities the same size as Omaha, and you see how much the police force has dropped since then. And what we did, that's one of the things that we did to start building our force back, is to make sure that we weren't losing more, is to put that pay scale in such that they were the highest paid. And we also made it so that incoming officers were higher paid than what they were in the past. So we are doing things to grow our police department, where in other communities they didn't. Now on the streetcar, which is a great question too, because the streetcar is not the transportation solution. A lot of people say, okay, in Omaha, Nebraska, you see those orange buses driving down the street and they're empty. That's a little oversimplification of that, but that's a transportation system. The streetcar is an economic development tool. What it's meant to do is spur development and investment in an area. And some people say, well, why don't you put it on a rubber tire? Well, if you put it on a rubber tire, let's say you want to build a 150 unit apartment complex in the Blackstone area. You put it, and you want to put it on that track or that route. If you put it on a rubber tire, you get a new mayor like we just did, and he decides that he wants to move that route somewhere else. All of a sudden, that $25 million investment that you just made for people to live right there, how valuable is that at that point? You put a rail in the ground, and you show permanency. And that gives a developer the confidence to make that investment in that area along the line. And I can show you studies that will say that at least 3 blocks either side of that permanent rail, you will see investment. I was skeptical too about this. When I first ran for council in 2017, I was against the streetcar. When I ran for city council in 2021, I was against the streetcar. This last time, you know the reason I was for the streetcar this time? Because no one in the past had ever explained to me or come up with an idea or a plan how it could be done without taxpayer money. And now we're doing it without taxpayer money with tax increment financing. So I became a proponent. I was as skeptical as you are about what that meant. But you know what it means now? We're going to have over $4 billion of investment along that line. What was the other one you had? You had streetcar, you had police, something else.
Well, I mean, I think that covered most of it. The groceries and the manufacturing and cutting taxes. None of that's going on, but you don't have enough time to cover all that.
Okay, we got time for one more. Sir, one more question?
I'd like to ask you something very simple.
Sure.
What do you define as wasteful spending that you can address when you get back to Washington?
Anything that doesn't benefit the taxpayer. I mean, we need to get more out of the system that we're putting in right now.
I want to focus on the citizens of this country, forget the world, and that's what we're not.
I think I just said that.
Well, that's not what's happening today. We're spending more money outside this country than we are here.
I agree. I think there isn't a person in this room that wouldn't agree with you that we don't need to be spending money on drag queen reading in Bulgaria, right? Or here. Yeah. What else can I? One more?
That was a good quick one. Another quick one? Okay.
I know you said you are in favor of voter ID, but I'd
Yes.
also like to take a little further and ask your opinion on machines and paper versus paper ballots and hand counting.
I'd love to have that. I don't know if it's going to happen though. I really don't. It would be a great thing to have.
Why not?
What's that?
Why not?
Well, I think that's probably going to end up being a state issue, but if there's anything I can do from the federal issue, I would certainly encourage that.
It's got to be a state.
Yeah. All right. Another quick one? Sorry, John. I'm excited about it.
No, it's good.
Yes, sir.
Will you help put pressure on other Republicans in Congress to demand the full release of the FC files, which has been blocked out several times?
You know, I'm not sure I know how to answer that one. I have no idea what the Epstein files. I don't think there's, quite frankly, at least, you know, when I've been able to garner, it doesn't seem like there's anything in there that's derogatory for the president. So,
I don't think that'd be fair.
yeah, so, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know enough about what is in there, what might not be in there, or what the reason for not the full release is. So I apologize, I don't know the answer to that.
We'll go one more.
Okay.
Brinker, I appreciate all your support of President Trump and everything he's doing. We have this district that's kind of mixed, of course. Saunders County is so behind Republicanism that you have a great opportunity to get support from us. But the question, I guess, or the challenge is, how do you win this district as a Republican when they keep saying you have to be moderate? Everything I'm hearing from you towards our conservative views, which I think is great. But can you tell us how do we do this? How do you win?
I promise I did not set this question up, but this is one of my favorite questions. I think maybe, hopefully, from what you've seen of me tonight, you can kind of tell who I am, what my values are, what my principles are, what my tenets are. I'm not going to change. But by the same token, when I first ran for Omaha City Council, I had 4 mayors, president or past mayors endorse me. 2 were Republican and 2 were Democrats. And I use that as an illustration of, I think that tells you that people, and again, they know who I am, what my tenets are, what my philosophies are, but they also know that I'm at least willing to sit down and talk with you. And one of my favorite quotes from Charlie Kirk was, you know, when the conversation starts, it's when the violence stops. Oh, I'm sorry, I can move that way. When the conversation stops, that's when the violence starts. And that's what I think is so important, is you have to have that dialogue. And maybe another way of saying that is, because someone has asked me that in a different way to say, how are you going to thread the needle? I'm not here to thread the needle. I'm here to represent our district. With my values, with your input, hearing you, listening to you, but also at least willing to hear the other side, because I want them to hear what I have to say and convince them to change their mind. That's how you get things done. How's that sound?
We look like we're satisfied tonight.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, everybody. Good questions, and are you going to be able to stay around a little bit?
I'm going to be here if anyone has other questions afterwards.
All right, excellent. Okay, next item, we'll try to roll through these quick here.